A mid-air drama has left one person dead after severe turbulence sent a Singapore Airlines flight plummeting. We speak to one of the passengers on board, but first, here's how it all unfolded.
The entire thing happened within the span of less than 10 seconds.
Suddenly, the plane plunged. It was absolutely terrible.
The aftermath is devastating to behold. A sharp drop no one saw coming, sending the plane and its 211 passengers into a near 2,000-metre drop, all in a matter of minutes.
The plane started shaking. It kept getting worse and worse and worse.
There was no warning at all.
People and objects sent hurtling through cabins, launching some passengers' heads into the ceiling and flinging others from their seats, left bleeding and terrified.
Things were coming through the ceiling, water everywhere, people crying.
The Singapore Airlines flight was 10 hours into a journey from London to Singapore when severe turbulence hit in the middle of breakfast service. More than 30 people were injured. 73-year-old British grandfather Jeff Kitchen, on the holiday of a lifetime with his beloved wife, tragically died from a suspected heart attack.
We are deeply saddened by this incident.
The pilot forced to make an emergency landing in Bangkok, where injured passengers, including 8 Australians, were met with emergency medical assistance.
I'm in a lot of pain and it was quite scary. I think I'll be flying again for a while.
The sudden nature of the drop pointing to the possibility of clear air turbulence, a rare phenomenon undetectable by radars, which experts say has been on the rise in recent years due to climate change.
Over the last 40 years, severe turbulence has increased by 55% because of climate change.
Passengers can expect to spend 2 or 3 times as much of their flight in turbulence in the coming decades.
A frightening prospect for the battered survivors of this nightmare flight, who now face the daunting prospect of steeling themselves for another flight back home.
We're live from the lands of the Kulin Nation, and Melbourne woman Teandra Brock was a passenger on the flight who sprained her shoulder during the turbulence. Teandra, talk us through it. What were you doing when the turbulence hit?
Actually, I was asleep and all of a sudden there was a small amount of turbulence and then the seatbelt light came on, not a second or two after that. And then all of a sudden I was on a roof. I didn't even have time to react, basically. It was a couple hours before we landed.
Did you have time to panic?
No, I only had time to be flung across a room. Basically what happened, because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, was that I was flipped all the way up to the roof. And then because the plane dove down, I was basically thrown to the front of the cabin and then thrown onto the floor, unfortunately, with the other passengers that weren't wearing their seatbelts. We simply just didn't have time to react. There was no time to panic or do anything.
What does that feel like?
Rather frightening, but I'm extremely grateful that the crew are a very calm, very loving people. They were all injured, and yet they were the ones helping us up and making sure that we were okay. But it was very frightening in the instance. I wasn't sure what had happened or why.
Teandra, can you describe what was happening around you?
It literally looked like carnage because the breakfast was coming out very shortly. There was stuff strewn everywhere. There was glass flying at my face, teapots flying at my face. I tried to find my phone, which had been flung across the room. The plane has Wi-Fi, so I fortunately was able to text my friends and family and be like, I'm okay, but you're going to see this on the news. This is what happened. I think we're okay. I think I'm okay.
What flashed through your mind when the plane dropped initially?
To be honest, I thought I was dreaming because I had pretty much just woken up. So I was like, nope, that's not right. That's definitely not right. And when I was flung up to the roof, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be an astronaut anytime soon with this zero gravity. Very nice.
What have people's reactions been to this, Teandra? Your loved ones, you're letting them know you're okay. What are they saying?
I had so many of my friends and family text me being like, just checking that wasn't your flight to London, just thinking of you. And I was like, yeah, no, that was my flight. They're like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, we're all okay. We're all being helped and stuff like that. But yeah, my mother was especially worried about me. Make sure you call me every hour. Okay, no worries. But yeah, everyone was very worried, which was good. Nice to know that you loved.
We won't hold you too long. You'll be able to call your mum in just a sec. Did you ever have a moment where you thought this was it?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're sitting on top of a roof on a plane that's diving like that, absolutely. It was very scary.
And Teandra, we know that the crew was able to keep things relatively together given the insane circumstances that they were in, but What about your fellow passengers? How were they for the full descent then, after what they'd just been through?
It's quite interesting because in the area where I was seated, around half of them were wearing their seatbelts and half of us weren't. But only a couple of us were injured, thankfully. So the rest of the passengers who were uninjured were able to help clear and help the crew. And they were actually really nice. They were helping everyone out and making sure everyone was okay, but just trying to keep each other calm and talk to each other, basically.
Did the crew tell you about, or the pilot tell you about what might have caused it?
Yeah, so basically as soon as we kind of got our things back together, got our affairs back in order, the pilot said, apologies, we've hit some very bad turbulence over a storm. That's completely unexpected. We've dropped a few hundred feet. I've since found out that it was about 6,000 feet. So, I'd probably prefer the calmness of the pilot at that point.
Now, you have to get back on 2 flights to come home to Melbourne. How are you feeling about that?
Well, if I wasn't on such strong pain medication, I would be the first one to be ordering a martini right now.
Yeah.
But
you can do both.
But I guess that's the part about living on an island. You're kind of limited in the ways that you can get back to Australia. So I'm just going to try and remind myself that 2 bad things can't happen to a person in 2 days, surely.
Absolutely not. No, I'm a bit of a plane nerd. You can go direct Thai Airways, Bangkok to Melbourne. That's a separate thing.
Yes, unfortunately, all my luggage is in Singapore. So,
Where I wouldn't take Nick's advice is on mixing drugs and alcohol. I can consult other people about that.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Teandra, it's great to see that you're doing well at this point. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Go call your mum, eh?
No worries. Thank you so much.